right, welcome back everybody to round 2 of the Tuesday Night Eternal Holiday Invitational. We're so happy that you joined us tonight. Very excited to see everyone. Before we start with round 2, we want to do a quick thing, quick intro to some of our featured players of the night. So one of the requested things that some people had after the last few rounds was to get to know the players a little bit. So we want to make sure that we can do that here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over 2 of our featured players for this round, and then we'll go over 2 more after the next round. So we're going to switch over here to show you some of our player profiles. Okay, so one of our featured players tonight, and someone we're going to see here next, is Gold47. So Gold47, someone who's played a lot of Tuesday Night Eternal events, one of the big supporters, very active in the Discord as well. And they've done pretty well. They're one of the few players with that double trophy next to their name, meaning they have won 2 of the 8 events that we've put on. And they've actually done pretty well. So in the Tuesday Night Eternal events in the fall, they were the winner, the champion of both the September Throne Challenge and the October Throne Challenge. So they won Throne in both September and October for these tournaments. And then they were the runner-up on the last tournament we had, the December Expedition. So almost had the 3-time champion, but not quite, as well as made the Singleton top 4. So Gold47, somebody who brings good decks, plays pretty well, somebody that we're gonna start to see more of, and I would not be surprised if you start to see in the ECQ ranks here coming up shortly. And then going up against Gold47 is actually one of our other featured players of the night, which is Slepher. So Slepher is one of our champions. They were actually the winner of the December Expedition Challenge. So this is actually a rematch of the finals of the last tournament that we had of the December Expedition Championship. So this is the rematch of the finals there. Slepher, as I said, kind of a newcomer to the scene in the Tuesday Night Eternal events, has played in the last couple and made a name for themselves very quickly, finishing in the top 4 of the November Throne, and then followed it right up with the champion winning the December Expedition Championship. So coming up strong here, and is going to challenge Gold47 here. And I know both of these players want to add another trophy to their name. All right, now let's take a look at Gold47's deck list here right before we start, while they're getting set up. And you can see they're on, what is this, the Grodov control list here. I don't even know if you would call this control. It's kind of like mid-range. They've got a lot of mid-range threats. You got all 3 factions represented here. You got Rambo, which is a nice undercosted threat, followed up by Woda. And I really like the Zumikon in this deck. I think that Zumikon is pretty underplayed in Expedition right now, and it's just a house for some of these decks to deal with. And if you're not prepared to deal with a Zumikon, you're gonna have a tough day.
It is a little worse in an open deck list, because you know that if an opponent is holding up 5 power, they definitely have a Zumikon either off the top or in their hand. But so sometimes you just can't deal with that, right? Regardless, it's like you don't attack. It's like, okay, well, and then they play the Zumikon anyway, and it's still a 5-cost 7/7 that they could have either. They could have played Zumikon, or they could have also played anything like Conflagrate or the Kairos Choices, or any of the fast speed spells too, right? So you have to be worried about so much with this, and it's just a house. This is more like a ramp deck though, right? Well, actually, it only has 1 piece of ramp, and that's the
this is one of those decks where it's not really a control deck, it's not really an aggro deck, it's more of just a play a whole bunch of really good threats, play a bunch of undercosted threats, and kind of back it up with a little bit of removal.
Yeah, the Intrepid Longhorn throws me off. It's not really it can ramp, but it's not really there to ramp. It's there for an early threat, an early blocker, an early it's just the best card to be playing in that slot. And that's what mid-range does. And we can move on to...
Yeah, we can actually look at Slepher's hand as well while they're getting started. And Slepher has one of these essentially mono... Well, it's tough when you're a 3-faction monocolor deck, but essentially they're basically building the deck around the shadow cards. So you'll see this a lot tonight. You have 4 Incarnus, 4 Tazbu, 4 Carvet, 3 Diesel's Office. That's what the deck is. That's really what it's based around. So even though they're playing 3 factions, it's really a shadow deck. It's a heavy shadow deck, and then they use choose the removal to splash in the other colors. So they have 4 Defiance, they have Cast into Shadow, 4 Conflagrate. That's just to kind of support the the real mono shadow focus of it. So while it's weird to call it a mono deck when it's 3 factions, it really is a shadow deck with light splashes in Fire and Justice to support the main theme. And I believe this is actually the exact list that Slepher ran to win the championship, the Expedition Championship, last month. I don't know if it's the exact 75 or whatever. I don't know if it's the exact number, but it looks like almost the exact deck that they ran to win the championship last time.
Yeah, for sure. Notably, they are running 4 Argenport insignia and 4 Stone Scar insignia, which do not they come to play depleted. There is a cost to playing this style, but you do gain very, very powerful things to do, and that thing to do is specifically Display of Ambition. I think that card is just it's probably another one of those cards that is too powerful, let's say, for the Expedition format. And it's I mean, it's obviously extremely hard to cast in the Expedition format. There's very few. There's a very little amount of fixing. The fixing that's available is the fixing that's in this deck for this particular 3 faction combination. And yeah, but the Display of Ambition is definitely worth it. Bringing back, for example, a Carvet from the Void, plus a Tazbu, there's very few decks that can actually come back from that. And like with a little bit of life gain in the Carvet and the Hidden Road Smuggler, a little bit of life gain. They can easily come back and support the fact that the Display of Ambition does deal you a little bit of damage, and it's also kind of bad into aggressive decks.
Okay, well, let's go down to the action here. Welcome to round 2, everyone. We are watching Gold47 versus Slepher. They're just getting started here. These decks are going to be a little bit slower out of the gates, it looks like. So no plays for the first 3 turns from either player. Slepher on the play. Gold47 going to make the first move, though, playing out one of their many smugglers in the deck. Likely going to toss away one of the 5 power in their hand for something that does a little bit more than your 8th power does at this point.
Yeah, I wonder how early you go for the Zoltar Cannon, because there isn't really that much in their deck that does a lot. Wow, Gold47 is running the Talir combo in their market. I actually didn't even notice that. That's sick. They can go grab the Talir first, and then on 11 power, potentially cheaper depending on what, or potentially sooner than turn 11, let's say, they can go grab the Kairos out of the market too, and that essentially ends the game on the spot. They probably have enough units at that point to either kill them straight away or to gain an insurmountable advantage. There's the Azumacon on the top. Unfortunately, they can't play that this turn, but they can play the Woda, which is not too bad.
You know, seeing Zumacon played and obviously Tazbu being played, and we saw Saditi earlier, makes me feel really bad for Rost, man. Rost is my boy, but not the format for him right now. Really like that card, but I don't think the heavy primal has the setup and the support that some of these other factions do at this point. So hopefully he'll get his time in the sun at some point, but not today. So here we'll see a Cast into Shadow for Slepher, not going for the double value at this point, just using it as a 1 removal spell to get rid of that Woda. I said 1 for 1 there, but really the Woda already got a card off of it. So that's the great thing about these listeners, is even when you do get them removed right off the spot, they still drew you a card. So they're just packed full of so much value.
Oh, yeah. And this is something that Direwolf should implement. We'll say that if any dev from DWD is out there listening to this, either through the VOD or through the live stream right now, the fact that Gold47 got that Xenon Obelisk here should not have happened, because in the actual in the ladder format, you can't get cards that are outside the Expedition format, but in challenge mode you can.
Yep.
And of course,
so just to clarify that's because these are direct challenges. We don't have a way to do those in community tournaments inside the client other than direct challenges, and therefore by default they just have the full card pool. So there's no way for us to stop the listeners from being able to pull outside Expedition, unfortunately. But yep, that's hopefully something we can implement in the future for sure. All right, Slepher going to play out. Use the removal spell and then play out the Carvet here. That's a really good turn for them. That's a good threat for them here. But Gold47 has answers. They have the Zumacon and they have a Shenra Speaks in hand, so they have ways to deal with what Slepher's throwing down.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Pearl Abbey Smuggler will go grab the Talir this turn because the Zoltar well, actually the Talir will get hit by a removal spell from Slepher. So I think the Zoltar Arcanum is probably the best choice, but you have to be very, very careful because the Carvet is able to attack it. So you're not going to be able to set that up over one turn. You potentially have to use the Shenron Speaks to get rid of the flyer before you end up getting the Zoltar Arcanum down. And that's what they're going to end up doing.
Mm-hmm. Grab the Zoltar Arcane, a very powerful sight here. 3 factions and 7 costs, so it's very difficult to cast. But once you do get it down, it's very difficult to deal with. It protects itself with the 2 exiles. It gives you power to cast more cards, and it gives you a way to draw 2 cards, and then a really good ultimate in Bren there. So a really powerful card once you have the factions and the power to be able to play it.
Yeah, it was recently nerfed actually from 5 durability to 4 durability, and that wasn't even from its use in Expedition. It was actually too powerful in Throne, and Throne is a much more powerful format. So you can imagine that any deck that can cast Zoltar Arcanum consistently, reliably, and with a good solid game plan besides that, if you can discover that deck in Expedition, it looks like Gold47 may have discovered it. You know you're on the right track for a really good deck. Well, in this case, Gold47. Is ending up they're not going to end up they just drew 2 cards for the and then Carver is going to attack it, and they decided to not set up the Shenron Speaks. They decided to lose the site for the value instead.
And here comes more of those shadow threats. Here's the Incarnus with built-in value there. You saw the pause previously. That was Slepher having Display of Ambition in hand, deciding whether or not they wanted to counter the card draw off of the site. Okay. Decided not to, of course. Oh, nice draw off of Incarnus there, getting Extinguish with Nightfall, being able to kill a unit. So really nice draw off of Incarnus there.
All right, and so Gold47 has got an Ancient Lore. I believe did they get out of that of the market? No, they drew that off of the Zoltar Arcanum. So they're I think they're able to take a few hits from this Incarnus and this Carvet before having to play the Shenron Speaks. But they probably will end up playing the Shenron Speaks plus the Ancient Lore this turn. Now, like you said, there's a Display of Ambition in their hand. Did you? Mm-hmm. So that means that Shenron Speaks should probably be decimated in order to stop any Display of Ambitions, and maybe Gold47 knows that. They did. All right, so they are going to end up silencing Slepher's board. And their own board, of course.
Well played there by Gold.
I think Slepher probably... Does Slepher end up getting them back anywhere, or are they just going to use Display of Ambition on the Woda this turn? But they know that there's a Zumacon in Gold47's hand, so they might have to wait for that. Oh, a Sandstorm Titan in Expedition. That's so nutty. That's so nutty. All right. Extinguish isn't a bad answer. Nice Incarnus hit. Again, a card that's not in Expedition.
Alright, playing out a Ravid here. That's a pretty good threat for Gold47 as well. Display of Ambition and Defiance in hand for Slepher. I misspoke earlier. I had the wrong display there, so I apologize for that, but still pretty powerful here. Drawing Wing Brewer and a Smuggler off the top. Let's see what else they can get from the market here. They've still got an Edict, a Regent's Tomb. Ooh, they've got Braille. That's pretty good. A Big Vara and a Token. So they've still got a lot of things on their side of the board. Although they don't perfectly line up with what Gold47's putting down here.
Yeah, Slepher agrees with you that it's not lining up perfectly, so they're going to end up going back into their deck to find some more answers here. That's pretty risky business though, because Slepher is going to go down to 2 life from an attack here if they don't deal with any of this. Although they do have a Display of Ambition in hand, so that will get rid of at least the Ravid. And they
Yeah, they
probably do
did.
that main
They did
phase to
draw
get
Diesel's office off
another.
that draw, so that'll be nice. If they have another threat here, they need to deal with. Although the Zumikon being able to ambush in is going to be nice for Gold47 to dodge that Diesel's office.
Yeah. And although it is risky into casting a shadow, there's board wipe from Slepher, so they can easily just jam these cards out. They don't really have to worry about
Yep.
losing value by tossing them out there.
All right.
And
There's the Kairos. Yep. I mean, they just have, yeah, you're right. They just have so many threats here that they don't even need to. They're in such a good position. They don't even need to apply the big threats because, well, thanks to that Xenon Temple, they can just deploy their small threats, and that's enough. And those are going to demand an answer from Slepher. And then once they do answer them, then you're able to play out, the Zoomcon or the Kairos or whatever else is needed.
all right, and so Slepher is still looking for those answers. They will be able to get this Wing Brewer on board potentially next turn, so that they could get 3 blockers. But of course, the Kairos coming down is probably going to end the game regardless of what happens here. Drawing 9 cards from Kairos, absolutely disgusting. I think it's probably lethal here with the Emery's Choice, maybe.
Yeah, it probably is. I think Gold47's in quite a good position here.
Oh yeah, it's definitely lethal. What am I talking about? The Zumikon can attack this turn.
Yeah, that'll be. I guess they can block and define, so they're not dead this turn. But oh well, the Armor's Choice too. Well, yeah, they still should be here. 9-3. Actually, I'll put them down to 3.
Not quite.
Not quite, but I don't know what Slepher can possibly draw here to get him out of this.
Well, the first thing they can do is activate this this Wing Brewer, which gives them 3 blockers. Now they don't know, but I mean, well, they do know because Kairos can kill things. But like, they don't know that even if they kill the Kairos, they do have multiple ways to answer these flyers to swing in for lethal.
All right, so they are going to activate. They're going to draw a Smuggler and get 3 1/1s. That's not going to be enough to hold off of what Gold47 has going for them. I like Gold47's approach. We talked about earlier at the break about how strong Shadow is as a core faction here in Expedition, and it has such powerful mid-range threats. But I like Gold47's idea of, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go over the top of you. I'm going to have Kairoses, and I'm going to have just huge threats. I'm going to have Zumikons and Kairoses, and I'm going to try to go over the top and have each of my threats be more impactful than each of your threats. And basically, Gold47, I think, tossing up that, hey, I'm going to give up some of my aggro matchup, and I'm okay with that because I don't expect to see, you're not going to play against the Yetis in this tournament. You're going to be playing against people who want to play these bigger decks, and I think it's really smart to bring a really high-level deck to this tournament and, lose a little bit of equity on the aggro matchup, but then in matchups like this really have the advantage.
Yeah, for sure. It's also much better in best of 3s to bring bigger decks with more targeted removal, because you can if you're facing against an aggressive deck, you can keep the hands that have the removal, and you can discard the hands that don't, right? And yeah, on ladder you sort of have to guess what your opponent is on unless you've played them previously, and then you basically get screwed over if like you keep a slower hand against a more aggressive deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and the Samurai Choice is going to come down. They gain 5 life this turn, so they're going up to 8. This isn't lethal. Yeah, and Slepher has an answer here. Do they have like a Defiance or something like that?
Ooh, okay. The Conflagrate, though, with the Overwhelm was pretty nice. And it prevents the lifesteal, so that's actually just lethal. Very well played. Oh, no, it's not. They gain 1. Okay, so they did end up going up to 1. I thought they had lethal with that, too. But Slepher going down to 1. Gold47 having 3 threats in hand, 3 threats on the board.
All right, and a loss in the miss will definitely end it because even if Slepher plays out a threat and has a removal spell, they still have a way to answer it.
Yeah, this was once that Kairos hit the board. It may not have ended that turn, but it did end that turn. It just took a couple of turns to finish it out. But well played by Gold47. They're gonna take game 1 there. Welcome back to the booth, everyone. So Gold47 gonna take game 1 there over Slepher. And remember, these are best of 3.
That was game 1.
That was game 1. Yeah. All right, yeah, we'll work on that audio after round 2 here when we get a chance to take a break. And it looks like we do have one match in the book. The Doc28 took a quick 2-0 over Tempest Dragon King. So Doc28, one of our featured players in the night, is going to move to 1-1. Tempest Dragon King going to drop to 0-2, and I think they're out of top 4 contention, so they're going to drop there. As we get closer, we might see some players drop when they're out of the top 4 contention, but a 3-1 record with good breakers is enough to get you there. So if you drop 2, you're pretty much out of it, but a good 3-1 record can definitely get you in.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the only match that has been decided so far. There's a couple of games 3s. Yuraku versus Captain Teambro is in the 3rd game. Jedi EJ versus John Holio is in the 3rd game. And yeah, are the players back in? They are. They are back in.
Let's get down to the action. Okay, this is game 2. Gold47 up 1 game. They are on the play again. Again, similarly, we don't have control over play draw, so it'll just be luck of the draw here. Gold47 going to draw Zumikon off the top, of course. You always get the warp, the 5-drop warps on the top of the deck when it's when it's turn 2 and 3 and you're developing out your board. Seems to work that way. But Gold47 going to fire off an early smuggler here. And let's see what they go for here. Their hand is actually pretty stacked, so interesting what they're going to go for. They're going to go for the Zolta Arcanum. Interesting. They're going to throw away a Kairos' Choice to the market to get the Zolta Arcanum. Long way from casting that, but really, really setting up, knowing this game is going to go long. It's going to go. Both players are going to hit their power drops. You're going to want that Zolta Arcanum. So Gold47 preparing for the late game here.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few choices you get here, right? There's not really no targets for Kirin Ascendant. I think that the Talir is a little too risky to be playing into a bunch of removal stuff, especially since one of that removal is cast into Shadow. So it's definitely dying unless you get to 11. We might see this. Zolta Arcanum is a pretty good ramp way to ramp into the 8 power you need in order to cast Talir plus Smuggler in the same turn. So Gold47 gets the Justice, but I think they're probably going to end up playing the Zumikon at end of turn, right? Yeah. So what does Slepher have in hand right now?
Slepher's got a lot of gas. They've got Token, Double Carvet, Tazbu, 2 Smugglers, and a Defiance.
Because they had a pause on 2 that I know about, and is that a Conflagrate in their hand that they chose not to use on the 2/3?
Potentially could have been the Defiance, depending on the timing of it. But yeah, they have Defiance is the only interaction they have in hand right now.
Okay. So Gold47. So this Zumikon is going to be very, very good against what Slepher is up to this game. The Defiance is just going to stop it for a couple turns, so it won't actually deal with the card.
Mm-hmm.
So Slepher is going into the market for.
They got Edict of Makar. No, Edict will take care of the Zumikon.
Yeah.
I like these preemptive market gets by these players, understanding the matchup, knowing what threats matter, and being able to go into the market early and grab the threat that you're going to want to use in following turns.
Yeah, and they're not even going to use Makar on the Zumikon. They're going to save up that Edict of Makar to use against the Kairos that they know is going to come down like in a few turns later. Although, to be fair, I think that they probably have to end up getting rid of the Zumacon anyway, because the Kairos will of course draw 7 cards off the Zumacon. No trades here from Slepher. They feel that they can remove these threats without having to trade, and they want to keep the aggression going. It is a little bit of a downgrade in a trade, although the 2-1 will block the 3-2 very effectively here. I think this Amri's choice is probably going to go back into the market, right? And they're going to keep the yeah, okay. Oh, they grab a Shenron Speaks. They're really preemptively going for this. They want to stop this stop the threats from being able to pressure the Zoltar Arcanum. But with the double Carvet in Suffer's hand, that might not be as effective as he thinks. Because guaranteed Slepher knows that they're going for the Shenron Speaks. Oh, the Tazbu comes down. Now, Shenron Speaks can actually stop the Tazbu from being effective here. Okay, will Gold47 take this trade? Or are they just going to Shenron Speaks next turn and take care of the Tazbu completely? Yep, they're just going to let it through, and this Shenron Speaks is going to...
All right, they're actually going to play out Zoltar Arcanum here. They're going to let the Tazbu live for a turn.
All right. Now they did pick up a Kairos' choice, which means that they can bring back the 2/3, and be able to find the Talir, and therefore the Kairos maybe later on as well.
Oh, another Tazbu here. That's pretty good. That means every one of these threats now is going to draw 2 cards for Slepher if Gold trades any of them off or kills anything. That's a lot of card draw for Slepher. It is a lot of damage too, but I think Slepher's at a high enough life total where not super worried about it here.
All right, and they choose get them to draw 4 cards.
4 cards for Slepher. That's tough. That's tough, especially in a matchup like this, which is really about resources and control of the board. Being able to give Slepher 4 cards off of that. Yeah, you can Shenron Speaks this next turn, but that's a lot of cards for Slepher to rebuild with.
Yeah, you notice that Slepher has 7 cards to play with, and Gold47 has 2 cards to play with. That's really what we're looking at as the advantage bar, let's say, in the matchup. Ooh, a Zumacon off the top though. That's interesting. They might not be able to end up being able to play it this turn though. They might still have to play the Shenron Speaks. Yeah, they're just gonna draw the Zumacon.
Yeah.
Not gonna end up warping it.
Can I go ahead and get that attack in there? No reason not to attack here.
Yeah, I think the power is definitely worth it to lose the 2/2 there.
And here you go. There's the decimated Shenron Speaks. Going to take care of both of those Tazbus. And with the decimate, so they are silent, so they actually don't draw the 2 cards there from the Tazbus. So, or the 4 cards, I guess.
That's why I thought they would have just let that Zoltar Arcanum go, and then Shenron Speaks, and they wouldn't have drawn 4 cards, right?
Yeah, they wanted to keep the Zoltar Arcanum, but interesting. You also could have chump blocked the 2/2 against the 2/3 and not killed it, and then kept the Arcanum alive and not let them draw.
I think there were 3 2s. I think that you couldn't have done that.
All right, so Slepher going to play out the Carvet here. Gold47 drawing Omri's Choice for the turn. But really the only threat that they have right now is the Zumacon. They do have a Kairos' Choice and an Omri's Choice, but no units but a Zumacon out here. And that, can they deal with the Carvet at all? They can silence, they can use the Omri's Choice to deal with the Carvet. Although, actually, if they sabotage here, oh, this is brutal. Yep. They can take the Omri's Choice, which is the only way to interact with the Carvet, which was the only way to keep the Arcanum alive.
So all this time, trying to keep the resources taken to keep this Altar Cannon alive, and it's going to die anyway.
Oh, that is
They're
brutal.
they're going to lose the Bren.
Yeah, throwing away. I mean, basically, like you said, using resources, tossing resources to keep the Arcanum alive to try to ultimate it, and then yeah, Slepher just having the right combination to make it impossible and losing it at the last turn, and that's going to be really tough. Now it's really tough for Gold47 to come back from this. Although a one-cost Conflagrate's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. They can end up dealing with this Regent's Tomb unless there's a Defiance in their hand.
Oh,
They do have a Defiance. That is
actually, they
that
have a
is
Defiance and they have
gross.
2 Cast into Shadows. Um,
All right, and
and now an Incarnus.
I think the Sight Wars is definitely going to be in Slepher's favor this game. I think it very much looks like Elias, the Broken Wing, is coming out for him.
Mm-hmm. Here comes Incarnus. Let's see what they can draw off of Incarnus here. Draw a Tazbu off of the Incarnus. That's a pretty nice one.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Now the Shenra Speaks was in Gold47's market, so they're drawing fairly dead here. And yep, and Slepher takes that, and it's now 1-1 between the two titans of the Tuesday night tournament scene.
All right, and that's gonna be 1-1. So we're gonna go into a crucial game 3 here. This is 4 rounds of Swiss before the cut, so every round matters. And I'll tell you what, starting out this tournament 2-0 is a lot better than starting it out 1-1. You start out 2-0 and you've got a real solid chance at getting into that top 4. Starting 1-1 means you're gonna have to basically win out and have good tiebreakers. So both of these players really want this win. It's very important. This is also, as we mentioned, this is a rematch of the championship from 2 weeks ago. So both of these players played in the Expedition Finals, best of 5, went down to the wire, went to Game 5 before Slepher pulled it out against Gold47 to take their trophy. So both of these players used to playing each other, used to playing in these high-stakes matchups, and going to a crucial Game 3 here.
Yeah, if I recall, Slepher was on the same deck, but Gold47 was on a Huru deck, right? With Shard of the Spire
deck, yeah.
in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So Gold47 gets the aggressive. Yeah, they get Gold47 gets a little bit of an aggressive start. Slepher might have to deal with this. They do have ways to deal with this, but they have to deal with it pretty fast, or else Gold47 will be able to get that Zoltar Arcanum out a turn early, which is not something that Slepher really wants to happen.
Tough. Gold47 has a lot of not a bad hand, but it's a lot of setup hand. You've got the Acolyte, you've got a Smuggler in hand, and then the rest of your hand is power. Now you can draw something off the Smuggler, but they don't really have those. They don't really have those mid-range threats. And now a Seek Power off the top. If Slepher can start landing threats here, which they're a little bit slow, but if they can start landing threats here, it's gonna be a little tough for Gold47. They don't have a lot of action in hand, so they're gonna have to go to the market to get something to do because they're out of gas in their hand. They've got a Seek Power and three sigils. They're gonna go for that Arcanum.
Yeah. I mean, they do get an undepleted sigil here, which they can use to find the Seek Power, and yeah, they're 2 away from casting their Arcanum. If the Slepher doesn't have a response to this, they're going to end up being able to run away with this Zoltar Arcanum with a lot of card advantage.
Yeah, if Slepher can deal with the Arcanum. I mean, that's what this game is going to depend on. Slepher needs to be able to put something out that can deal with the Arcanum. If Gold47 drawing another power off the top, if they can land this Arcanum and stick it, they probably have enough to finish the game out. But if they don't, they're out of gas. So Slepher needs to find a way to deal with this Arcanum, which is going to be tough because they're behind on board and they don't really have a ton of direct sight hate. So it'll be a little tough to do here. And now Gold47, as we know, is 1 power away from landing the sight here.
What does Slepher go for from the market? They don't really have a good response. Like maybe they went for the Brel this time, so the Regent's Tomb, because the Regent's Tomb is very hard to protect on this in this current game state.
That is tough. I don't think the Regent's Tomb is going to do anything here. All right, they're going to play out a Tazbo.
Play there.
Oh.
I will say that they should probably get the 2/2/2s right now. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Because just in case Slepher decides to get cheeky and get the No, they actually do not have a malediction anywhere in their deck. Okay. So they didn't actually need to cast the 2/2/2s, although it's fine because they're able to gain a little bit of
Oh,
value
this
off
is
the
nice though. How using the display to blow out the chump block with the overwhelm, and that's going to take care of the Arcanum. And now we've got a game here, ladies and gentlemen. Now Gold did draw Kairos' choice last turn, so that's something. But now that was the end of their threats, and now Slepher has an opportunity here with the power on the field in the form of Tazbu, followed up by 2 smugglers and another display. I think the power just shifted here. Slepher's in control now. Now it's on Gold47 to come up with something to do.
Kairos Choice can rebuy the Merchant, which can find either Shenron speaks to the Talia or the Kairos. But yeah, that's a few turns away. Slepher is definitely in the driver's seat, at least for a few turns. We'll see what Gold47 can pull off the top in order to combine with this play. But they're going to need to do something really quickly. And Slepher even pulls
I can pull a Diesel's Office. Okay, Wodo's not bad. Let's see what they can draw off that.
See. Notably, they can pull from everywhere. Okay, so they decide to get the other obelisk this time. Then they pulled the Xenon obelisk last time, and then they clock of the stolen hours this time.
All right, they're gonna start off by they're gonna kill the smuggler, which does draw Slepher a card. That's interesting. Oh, they're just going aggro here. Okay, look at that. They're gonna put Slepher to 4. Tazbu dealing 1 every time a unit goes down. Now they did draw Carvet though. Carvet's nice. Also, Diesel's Office granting lifesteal, which they can't play. They're still 1 off of Diesel's Office. Now they do have another smuggler, which has lifesteal. They do have the Varus Favor, which can gain 1. So they have a lot of ways to gain health here. But you got to think closely here because there's a lot of damage coming.
So the Woda can be pumped.
Ooh, okay. Can they take care of the Carvet?
That'll gain 5/9. They can block 2 things. The thing will pump. Okay, so they decide to play the Clock of Stolen Hours. I don't think they can do much this turn though. They were really going for this the really aggressive line, and the Carvet stimmies it for at least for a few turns here.
This is really close though. Interesting.
I mean, I think they want to kill this Carver with the Conflagrate. Certainly, they're not going to win this turn from that, and they can probably block this Woda.
Let's say because Slepher can block and go up to 8, but then they have to take at least 3, which will put them to 5. If 2 units die, that puts them to 3.
I wonder what they're playing around here. That's the difference between the 3 damage doesn't matter. I don't know why they're not blocking the Woda here. Because the Woda is the really big threat, because next turn they can pay, how much is it? They can pay 8 to give it +8, +3, and then they can certainly get the second mastery trigger off of that. Or the mastery trigger off of it. Alright.
And there's the Conflagrate to take care of the Carvet. Slepher will lose 2 off of the triggers, as we said. They'll go to 3. But draw 2 cards, and they drew another Carvet.
Ooh, another Carvet is really bad for Gold47. But the Zizo's Office is actually even worse because that gains them 8 life.
That's going to take care of the Woda and give lifesteal to gain 8, go back up to 11.
Another Woda off the top. Let's see if they can pull something off the listener.
Well, if they can pump somehow, they can kill the Diesel's Office, which will get them somewhere. It's taking a while though.
Usually when you don't go for it instant, it's probably a safe bet that their decision isn't good. Waiting with bated breath here to see what
you don't love it. You don't love it when they take this long. When you have to take that long on your choice, it's usually not a good thing. All right, a 2/2
Tilfex Sockler. Okay, I guess it summons Scout. That gives them an extra look at a card.
It's something.
I
Oh,
think
but Gold Slepher's hand
they
is
can't go
gas
for
though.
face though.
Slepher has two cast into shadows. They can kill both the Woda and the 3/3, and they can gain 10 here.
Can they go for lethal or something? Is that what's happening?
I don't think so. You can get close.
Yeah.
You can hit him down to 6 and go up to 19.
Voprek's
And a
choice
Voprek's
too to
choice.
throw in
Oh.
the shade the
So Slepher coming back. What a comeback for Slepher. Coming down from losing the first game and winning the next two to take it over Gold47 and taking the rematch again. Oh, that's gotta hurt for Gold47. Losing the championship 2 weeks ago to Slepher and then being up one game and losing the next two and losing to Slepher again. Ooh. Deep breath there, and the real turn there, that game really came down to that one turn where Gold47 was able to land the Zoltar Arcanum, was able to really stabilize, but then the +1 and Overwhelm on the Tazbu against a chump block just completely blew out Gold47, took out the site, and really was left with nothing going on at that point.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't they didn't go for a harsh Shenron speaks and be able to effectively deal with the Tazbu. They just never could. They don't have very good answers to Tazbu in the deck in general. I think they have to, for example, they could double 3 damage it with a Kairos choice plus a Conflagrate, but that's really kind of bad because that's a 3-for-1 for them because of course the Tazbu gains them a card off of that exchange. So yeah. We saw how effective the deck was and how good it was at going over the top, but I think that during that between turns 7 to 9, I think that Slepher's deck really can take over, and if he can close out the game during that time, as we saw, then that's how his deck wins.